More progress for Dallas-Fort Worth's apartment sector, but the big divide continues to be in place. The upper tier is humming along, but the lower tier still is lagging far behind. And new apartment construction is coming back. Welcome to Apartment Market Dynamics from NPF Research. I'm Jay Parsons with your Dallas-Fort Worth update. One of the big stories we'll be talking about as we look at first quarter 2011 results all across the country is how well these markets have done in holding on to renters after the big demand numbers that we saw in the first half of 2010. And in Dallas-Fort Worth, it's the trend that's been pretty similar to what we see across the country. That is pretty solid demand, but not spectacular, but enough for overall occupancy to increase just a little bit. Annually, however, apartment demand remains very strong, nearly 20,000 units absorbed in the past year, and that's in large part due to job growth. Dallas-Fort Worth led the nation in job growth in the year ending January 2011, 63,600 jobs added in DFW over the past year. And as a result, overall occupancy is up 1.9 points annually, up to a rate of 91.4%. Still pretty weak, and that's because of the tremendous divide that we see between the upper tier and lower tier apartments. Apartments that are built in the 1990s and stabilized apartments built in the 2000s have occupancy rates of 94 and 95%, and we're seeing much weaker occupancy rates in apartments built in the 80s, the 70s, and prior to 1970. And on a submarket level, we're seeing pretty much recovery in a number of upper tier submarkets. That includes Las Colinas Capel, where overall occupancy is back up to 96.2%, Plano 95.6%, and rates just under 95% in Richardson, in-town Fort Worth, and also in the Frisco Prosper area. Rents, similar story, rent growth of 0.6% in first quarter and 2.9% annually. That's still lagging behind the national norms, and that's because, again, of the lower tier apartments. We're seeing rent growth of 4% and more in apartments built in the 1990s and the 2000s, but only 1 to 2% in older apartment communities. And again, on a submarket level, some pretty impressive results among the upper tier submarkets, starting with in-town Dallas. 9.5% rent growth in the year ending March 2011, and rent increases topping 6% in 3 other key areas: Oaklawn Park Cities, in-town Fort Worth, and Frisco Prosper. And let's wrap it up with perhaps the biggest news of early 2011, and that is that new construction is picking back up again. 9 apartment projects broke ground in the last 3 months of 2010, and another 11 projects broke ground in the first 3 months of 2011. And what's interesting is there's no real clusters among the DFW submarkets in terms of where construction is coming up. And in fact, it's interesting that in some of the hotbeds of construction for the past few years, we're not seeing any construction at all. And that includes uptown Dallas, Frisco, and North Fort Worth. One trend worth pointing out, though, is that these projects that are breaking ground tend to be smaller than what we saw in the past few years. Back in 2008, when 55 projects broke ground in DFW, the average project had 300 units. But in the past 6 months, these 20 projects, the average has been only 160 units, and only 2 of those have more than 300 units. But it's worth pointing out that DFW is by far the first market in the country to see construction pick up at any levels, and DFW should still lead the nation in total deliveries in the next year, even though for DFW, overall deliveries should be at its lowest level in 18 years at fewer than 5,000 new units completing in the next 12 months. So that wraps us up for DFW. Until next time, for Apartment Market Dynamics and NPF Research, I'm Jay Parsons. Thanks for watching.
Want more? Go deeper with NPF Research's apartment market reports. From a national level, down to individual metros, to specific neighborhoods, NPF Research has been providing unparalleled apartment market intelligence to the multifamily industry for almost 5 decades. Learn more by contacting us at 877-284-4938 or visit www.npfresearch.com and click on Market Reports.